Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
This is the Locker Room Podcast.
This is the Locker Room you're listening to. I'm Kirk Morrison. He's Ryan Hollins. Also, DeMarco Farr with us at Kirk Morrison on Twitter, at the Ryan Hollins. And yes, at DeMarco Farr 1. Yes, he does have a Twitter, everybody. It's
I just don't know how to use it.
Look, I asked you guys this question, right before the break, because I think we've all been in some games, in some situations in which we've had some poor calls, or maybe the officials, they weren't going our way a little bit. Before I ask you guys, or you guys give me your take on some of the things that you've kind of been in, Steve Kerr was asked about the questions about the officials, and here was Steve Kerr after the game.
Robert Littell, Black Sports Online. Without trying to get you fined or anything, what did you think of the officiating overall? And is that something that the players just have to adjust to regardless of how they feel that they are being officiated?
Nice try.
Yeah, you know what? That's one thing that we do know, that the Warriors are a very savvy group. I think LeBron James very media savvy as well, but trying to throw that bait out there. I think someone tried to get remember whole Rihanna and Kevin Durant in game one. These players, we're talking about not just the best of the best as far as the NBA, but these guys are very media savvy, and they're not giving up that extra little bit of juice to get people talking. But I'll start with you first, DeMarco, on this one, because you're a former NFL player like myself. We've had some times where the calls didn't go our way, but can you think of any time where you just felt like the calls were just they were either out for you or you guys just couldn't get a call?
Yeah, I played for the Rams, man. They're always against them. Absolutely.
What you mean?
Before the greatest show on turf.
That's the greatest show on turf. What you mean?
When we were the also-ran category, we didn't get any of the calls, man. But no, usually it's two good teams or one great team versus where the calls happen. I'll give you two good examples. One, when we were playing the Niners when we weren't so good, and I remember hitting Steve Young right as he released the football, and I got the penalty for roughing the passer and a fine. And I looked at the official and said, I was right on time. He had the ball in his hand. He says, you guys aren't good enough to make that call or get that call.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, point blank and simple. I just told me what type of game it was going to be, and then when I'm on the bench, I'm watching the 49ers defense tear the head off my quarterback and not get calls. In the same game, same official. So, but then you jump to 1999. We were good, and we're playing the Chicago Bears in St. Louis when Cade McNown was the quarterback.
Wow,
he started that game.
Ooh.
Yeah.
UCLA. That's a UCLA reference right there.
UCLA 49ers, man of my heart, man.
But, I mean,
I'll be all ears.
We were taking liberties with this team. I mean, we were obviously going to the playoffs. We had battles with Chicago when we were both in the cellar, but now we're good. So we're taking liberties with this team, and I had an NFL umpire, the guy that stands right behind us, used to drop a flag and ask me, which guy do I want to be called on? Which guy out here do you want me to call holding on? Oh. Drop a flag and then ask me which number. Now that's when you know you're good.
Yeah,
yeah.
Somebody was holding you.
I've seen it both ways, but it just look. Referees are human too. They get caught up in the hype, and sometimes they call penalties for or against the bad teams or for the good teams.
Brian, throwing it to you real quick. Have you ever had someone call two technicals on one person and then later on say, no, the first one, that was on somebody else. It wasn't you, like we saw with Draymond Green the other night. Have you seen that before where the officials make a mistake on calling who the technical was on?
I can't remember a specific situation where I saw it like that, but I will tell you one thing. Oh, man, and I hope this comes out the right way, fellas.
Uh-oh.
In the NBA, you want to see the best. We're a business first, okay? Basketball is nice, but we're a business first. Mm-hmm. So you want to see the best show, the best opportunity. And one thing I had to talk with the officials on, the officials at a playoff level, they never want to – I know you're going to feel some type of way about this, Kirk. They never want to decide the game. So before they suspend or take somebody out, there's a method to the madness, okay? So there is a fine line that the NBA likes to press and pull on when it comes to giving the fans what they want. My man Draymond, I know we can always fall back to this. This is a sensitive issue for the Warriors fans, okay? And all the LeBron haters. Yes, he was kicking guys in their man parts.
Right.
And he's still pressing the line. He's elbowing cats in the face. He's still pressing it. So technically, I feel like he should have been kicked out, but he wasn't. The referees did not want to pull him out of that game. They felt like it wasn't fair. It's the difference between, let's say I have 4 fouls, and the ball is going out of bounds. So they'll just say the ball was out of bounds off of you, even though the other player hit it, rather than giving you a foul because you pushed him out or you made a silly play to put them in that predicament. So even though they may give the arrow to the opposing team, even though it was the wrong call, they're saving you from a foul. So the referees have a fine line that they play around with.
Well, no, they don't have a flying line. And look, I'll tell you this from my career. I remember this goes back to, I think, 2012. 2011. I'm playing with the Buffalo Bills. And kind of to your point, DeMarco, we're playing against the New England Patriots. Here I am playing middle linebacker. I'm playing what we call the middle paint drop. The middle paint is where I'm playing in between the hashes because I know there's one guy who likes to work in between there and make plays. Guy by the name of Rob Gronkowski. So, look, I knew that Rob was going to run a certain route. It was a 3rd and 7 situation. I know where he wants to kind of settle. He runs the route, literally comes in, initiates contact with me. I hold my ground. I make a play, look, knock the ball out. I get up. I'm excited. I turn back around. There's a yellow flag over there. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, there was contact. He initiated the contact. So, look, I'm getting mad because that is a call that, because I was a Buffalo Bill, I couldn't get that. But New England get that call every single day. That's why I get upset, man. See, when the calls go against you, see, that's why I feel you, my boy Draymond.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
We said, well, if LeBron James did leave, fellas, and I'll start with you on this one, DeMarco. If he did leave Cleveland for the second time, what does that do now to that franchise?
Well, of course, it lessens the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, and this is funny. I was going to ask Ryan the same question, man. I mean, is it like boxing when we talk about pound for pound the best boxer in the world? It's mythical. When you say LeBron James is the best basketball player on the planet, how do you feel about that? Is that real or that's fact?
Fact.
End of story.
So? Okay.
Well, losing the best basketball player on the planet is definitely going to hurt you. But if you look at what's there with LeBron, and I'm talking specifically about Kyrie Irving and his maturation through the finals right now, I don't think the cupboard's bare. So if you lose LeBron, it's going to hurt. But I don't think you go automatically to the bottom just because he left.
Ryan,
real quick, he even left these guys with experience. Tristan Thompson, I was there with Tristan and Kyrie, and I played with K-Love. Those guys will forever be changed. They're NBA championships. Those are new. Right. Those are new guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did Scotty do after Michael left and played baseball? Didn't Scotty keep him afloat for a little bit before
he kept him afloat? Then he tried to join Houston. He tried to join Houston to go get him another ring. But the thing about it, I think we forget that Kyrie Irving now has put himself into this. I guess small select company of that. Will he be able to carry a team by himself though? Because you mentioned it, Ryan, he was early in his years without LeBron, and then LeBron came, and then all of a sudden we see him take off to another level that he was already been there.
Hey, Kirk, if you hadn't learned from LeBron, if you hadn't learned from KD, from Russ, you can't do it by yourself anymore. When the baddest man on the planet leaves, and you have the nerve to criticize him for going to play with another superstar, he realizes to win now, the bar has been set so high, you have to go and play with somebody else. You think Steph Curry said, man, we don't want KD. We got to do it ourselves. Listen, look, MJ, you'd have took my Coop on the team. You'd have took Magic. You'd have took Stockton getting you the rock. It just didn't happen back then.
He brought over Dennis Rodman, though. He brought over Dennis Rodman.
And Dennis Rodman was a hog where he was.
So that was an original kind of a big three. We talking about 3 Hall of Famers on one squad: Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, and Dennis Rodman. But look, I want to go back just for a second. Just going back to Game 4. I just want from a player's perspective, fellas. I looked at that game, and I knew from the first, 5 to 7 minutes of that game, the Warriors want to go back home. That's it. They want to go back home. No, I saw that for the first 5 to 7 minutes.
I didn't think that at all, Kirk.
I know.
Oakland. That is your heart saying.
That is not my heart saying. That is that Cleveland wanted it more. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they want, and you can tell that. And you've been there before. DeMarco, you've been there before, too. When you get out there during the game, and I'll tell you this. I remember going into, I think it was like my second year in the NFL. And I'm going out there, and all week long you're watching film, you're preparing, you know who you're going up against across from you. Then all of a sudden you get out there on the field, and that opening drive, and all of a sudden things don't go your way, and you go over to that sideline, and your coach looking at you like, hey, we ain't go over this now. Hey, I'm telling you, we blocked it. They blocked it up right. We fit it up right. Yeah, they were just better than us. It's going to be a long day. So I think it was that the Warriors felt that, look, we went out there, we played, but you know what? When they making shots like that, Steve Kerr didn't want to wave the white flag early. He was like, look, when they're making those kind of shots, when guys who didn't play well, like Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith and Kevin Love, Darren Williams finally scored a basket in the NBA Finals on Thursday. Finally, it took him 4 games. But when you see that, you're not saying, hey, we're gonna give up. We're gonna play our hardest. But you know what? Today just may not be our day, fellas.
Yeah. Hey,
Kurt.
That's what I saw. Go ahead. You go, DeMarco.
Does Darren Williams look chunky?
He looks out of shape.
Does he look chunky to you guys?
Okay, I'll give you this. I'll give you this, fellas. And you're listening to the Locker Room.
Because I had to look up weights.
Yes, you're listening to the Locker Room right now. I'm Kirk Morrison. He's Ryan Hollins, DeMarco Farr. I'm telling you guys this, though. It's not that he looks out of shape. He looks chunky. It's like this. It's different when you got a guy who's been in the league as long as he has, trying to run around with an Ian Clark or a Patrick McCaw, the younger players. He just looks a step slow, and that's what makes him look chunky.
Yeah,
he looks round.
Explode anymore. He's always he's naturally a bigger guard,
right?
But he's always had some pop to him off that cross. It's a pop, it's a pull up, it's a go, and he doesn't have that pop when he's trying to pull and yank guys on the crossover. They're just not going. It's
he's gonna blow something out.
The same.
He ain't got that quick first step no more. That's all it is.
I had to look up the roster to look up weights, man.
Come on, man. They lying. Don't look at them weights.
They list him at 200. I would bet that he's 20 pounds over that. I would bet.
NBA weights, our weight on the roster means as much as I mean. It absolutely is. It's a joke. I think
and some of y'all heights as well. Some of y'all ain't 7 feet. You know what I mean? You take them off shoes on. He's 6 foot
really
8.
Not. Yeah.
No, I know that.
I'm
the combine.
One of the legit 7-footers there.
But looking at their roster, and you get to LeBron, and you see his measurables, and then you see how he plays, it's like, wow. So I get that. But, Kirk, man, I didn't think Golden State gave it up. Sometimes, like you said, in the NFL, you walk into a buzzsaw. But I didn't think they ever stopped trying to take the lead. It's just Cleveland couldn't miss. So, I mean, I don't think that they said, let's just pack it in and go back to Golden State and win it there. I think they wanted to win it in Cleveland. They just couldn't get it done because of how great Cleveland was playing at the time.
I mean, they tried to chip away. But you just know it was not going to happen. And before we get to you, Ryan, I just want to let everybody know the Locker Room brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Ryan Hollins, you played for that Cleveland Cavaliers team before LeBron came back to Cleveland. So you understand sort of like, okay, you go into a game, and you mentioned you guys – lost the most games in franchise history. Going into a game knowing like, man, they just better than us. Like, what's the mentality, or what are you trying to get done? It's like, look, we just going to play our game. If we don't, then we don't. We do. Like, but knowing, to be honest, half the teams may be a little bit better than you at that point.
Yeah. You know what? In that game 4, though, the Warriors were chasing history.
Right.
So I don't ever want to hear that they kind of conceded. My aunt was texting me. My Aunt Jessica was texting me during the game, and, they just want to go. No, we don't want to go back home, because now you have the risk of 3-1 happening again. If you drop the game back home, then you come back to their place where they're going to play wild. You set up for a Game 7 in which you saw last year. The Warriors have a healthy respect for this Cavaliers team in that they know this thing can go sideways really quick. So I never want to hear the notion, it'd be nice to do it on your home floor, in your own bed. They had a chance to chase history. They had a chance to be special. Fellas, as I said during their break, James Michael McAdoo would have had a statue back in his hometown if he was a part of an undefeated team. Ian Clark would have a gym named after him, okay?
This is what David West has been fighting his whole career for, to get this.
They had a chance for that, right? They had a chance for that. But what I'm saying is you never want to give that up. So now, for the Warriors now, you're going to see a do-or-die game in Game 5 because they know they don't want to come back to Cleveland. I was on the team. We were up 3-2, and I'm not going to stop talking about this because he took my ring. Ron took my ring in Boston.
Yes.
The Big Three. I call them the Big Four when I tell the story because Ryan Hollins was on the team. It's my story. We were the Big Four at the time, fellas.
Love it.
Okay?
Okay.
We were up 3-2 at home with a chance to close out the Heat, and we were going to play the Oklahoma City Thunder in the championship, that young Thunder team. He took my ring. But what I'm saying is when you don't capitalize at home, you leave yourself wide open. And then when you come back to your place or you give somebody hope, the worst thing you can give the best player in the world, the best player in the last 10 or 20 years, one of the best teams, the former champs, is hope, fellas.
Yeah, you don't want to give them hope.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
My whole career I've always been, kind of the people's champ in the locker room.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
This is the Locker Room Podcast.
Our own Ryan Hollins has a sort of LaVar Ball story. But before we get to it, I want to just hear one more piece from LaVar Ball in his interview with Jeff Goodman. This was kind of interesting, the way that he disciplined his sons. Here's LaVar with Jeff Goodman.
Dads, and I let them pick which one they want. And the first one is mild manner. If I ask you to do something, do it, or don't get in trouble, and then everything is calm. The second one is I'm gonna be a little vocal, a little, some abusive words. But if I could just scream at you and make you do something and put that fear in you, I'd rather do that. But the third one is you ain't gonna hear it. It's coming. But you don't have to do that. You got your choices. Pick one. And I'm ready to oblige to any one of them.
See, you're talking too much now.
Yeah.
You're talking too much now.
That means you got three of them, 3 forms of discipline.
Right.
I myself have used 2 of them, my kids.
See?
So the first one is just, hey, what are we doing? Let's put our things away. It's time to go. Let's get ready for school. That's the number 1. Now, when you get into that number 2, that's the one, that LaVar. See, I haven't got to 3 yet, but number 2, hey, I'm not going to tell you no more. Let's go ahead and put our stuff on now. See, when I get to that voice, which is a little bit louder, that's the one. Okay, Dad is serious.
Hey, stop.
Hey, I'm not going to tell you no.
Why would you share that, Kirk? That's nobody's business. That's nobody's business what you do.
Get down off. Get down off the seat. Get down. All right.
Hey, but you know what? I mean, not to cut you off, but DeMarco, why not? Yeah. I think a lot of these kids don't have fathers. These athletes, they don't have households anymore.
No.
So
right. Don't
at least there is a father, Don't
get me wrong. Look, never been locked up, never been to jail, pretty successful in my life. You get the story. I get it. But the last thing you should do is it's never going to come out right saying that. You know what I mean?
Right. I know, but trust me, my dad was very much of a disciplinarian for me growing up, from military guy. So, when you have that military background in your father, everything is, hey, I'm not going to say it no more. And you knew, okay, when he said, okay, when that dad's serious, sometimes, you kind of distinguish, is he playing, is he not? but you know when it was time to get serious. And I think with LaVar Ball, the way that he's raised his 3 sons, obviously for me, I applaud the man. I mean, raising 3 young boys in today's society. We were talking about it earlier.
Amen.
Ryan and DeMarco.
Man,
they're being raised in a world with Twitter and Instagram, and being able to. They even have Uber apps now. Remember before we all had to catch the bus to go somewhere, or we had to get dropped off. Now these kids have it so different. The access is so easy now. I mean, being around some of the college athletes I'm around, they have dating apps now. Like before, we had to write letters and like introduce ourselves to when we were trying to talk to a woman. Like, hey, how you doing? My name is Kirk. What's your name? Now they don't have to do that anymore.
About
now
a camera phone.
Yeah, they got camera phone. They can like a post that they make. So I think just raising your children in today's environment, in today's world, is just a difficult task. He's raised 3 fine, I think, young men who are still growing and getting into adulthood. But when he says some of the things like this, as far as his discipline, to me, there's some that you agree with. Obviously, there's some that you don't agree with, with having to put the fear in your child. Like, I don't want to put the fear in my child. I just want them to know that Dad is saying this because he doesn't want you to get hurt, or Dad is saying this because I've experienced this and I don't want you to go down a similar path to where, you can mess up your future. And I think that's where I try to take some of those things from LaVar and not more or less the negative, I think, which a lot of people sometimes do.
I'm waiting on the Ball story.
Yeah. Go to the LaVar Ball story.
I'm waiting on the story.
So, fellas, for me, and I think much like all of us, we first saw those statements in Hawaii at a Maui tournament. LaVar came out and said that if Lonzo was placed on the Golden State Warriors, they would beat Cleveland last year. And the Warriors would be a better team. Ridiculousness. I was appalled. I was offended. I said, this dude is ruining his son's draft stock. What is he doing? Nobody's going to want to touch this kid after he puts his expectations in his talk. He's nuts. He's nuts.
Okay.
Then I sat back and I thought. Then I sat back and I really reflected. I said, who does LaVar sound like? He sounds like Denier Hollins. And we touched on this earlier. He sounded like my father. Really? My father would walk around, minus the arrogance, and he would say, Ryan would have made that last-second shot that LeBron missed. Ryan would have had 20 rebounds if Kevin Love had 19 rebounds. My father felt like and would say that I could do any and everything to anyone who would listen, to any ear he could get. My dad had that type of belief in me. And I see that in LaVar. I see a man who loves his kids. Now, with the arrogance, definitely not in that way. But my dad would go on, out on a limb, whatever it was, he was just Team Ryan. And as a young athlete, having the support from my father, it meant the world to me. It meant everything, that whoever he saw on TV, whoever he saw going, he had a vision in me that nobody else had. When he came out with the shoes, when he turned out Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, he lost me with that again. He lost me with that. Then I had to sit back and think, how much money, if they're paying Lonzo $20 million, they're going to make $300 million off sales.
Right.
Why not keep that money in-house? So I'm starting to toy with the concept of, is this guy crazy or is he genius? Because he just gave athletes ownership. He just opened the door for something. Imagine if LeBron wasn't Nike. Imagine if LeBron was LeBron.
Right.
Okay? We look at that $90 million deal that LeBron signed coming out of high school and say, man, that's a lot of money. He said already. Imagine if LeBron held on to that and had a Lonzo Ball type deal. My gosh. My gosh. Wow. We're talking about ownership.
You're talking about ownership. You're talking about money. You're talking about,
man.
You're talking
a lot
about
of expense, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of expense. But
there's a lot of money. Yeah, a lot of money to make LeBron, right?
It's also things that they have worked their way to that. And I think, like what you're saying, is that LaVar Ball now is maybe a trailblazer But I just think that there's a different way that he can go about it, fellas.
Well, I do know this. If you did sign a Nike deal and you ever had any trouble, you can just call Nike and they will handle it. Now, when you're off on your own and you don't know what you don't know, I mean, you're probably going to lose more money than you gain.
Hey, DeMarco, he's pre-ordering the shoes.
Right.
They've obviously done the legwork, and the shoe really don't look bad. But let's say the kid blows up. We know LeBron was going to blow up the way he blew up. You can get funding. You can get people to invest in. It's a headache.
Yeah.
But on the other end of it, golly, that tunnel looks real bright.
Let me ask you this. Remember this? Remember way back when, before the bad news kennels, before Michael Vick ran afoul of the law. Remember how popular he was in the NFL and with Nike? And then all that stuff went down. What did they do with the inventory? Like, what happens if the big baller brand goes that route? What happens if something happens off the court?
I feel like Lonzo.
Yeah, I think Lonzo is not that kind of guy, though.
Well,
I feel like Lonzo is young enough. Well, I mean, I know there's probably some protesters. There's some women who already will never wear Zo2s because of some statements that he's made.
Stay in your lane.
Right? Stay in your lane. But at the same time, he's made it so popular, guys. Right. He's changed something. If you were in a position, guys, where you knew, and I'm just speaking, I'm giving some different context, I got to say something wild. I got to say I will beat Michael Jordan one-on-one. They'll make headlines. And now I'm going to sell more shoes than I was if I was just this good dad sitting back. He's looking at this opportunity between his sons and saying, let me take advantage of it. Also, we're failing to mention, and I don't know if we played it by, let's get this man hats off. He's a father and a husband, and he's taking care of his sick wife. And I love one statement that he made.
Absolutely.
He said, I don't want kudos for this. He said, everybody's sick. She's not the first person to have a stroke. Don't cry for Lonzo. Don't cry for me. We're going to get through this. That's leadership coming from this man. You think Alonzo, he's worried about his mom, but he knows he has a job. This guy's creating men. Now, he's doing it in his own way. I'm going to say another thing. As a parent, I don't think there's a perfect parenting playbook. Like you go in, you do this, you're going to fail. But if you love your kids, you love your children, you invest in your kids, hats off to you. Now, obviously, there's things he could do better. We can all talk about what he stinks at, but the guy's a father, okay? And he loves his kids, and he's putting time and effort. There's a lot of kids without a father. You think LeBron would love to have a LaVar Ball, love to have a dad in his corner right there?
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
What happens if Lonzo Ball doesn't get drafted by the Lakers? Like, what happens if he goes to Boston? What happens to LaVar Ball if his son's not a Laker? Does he still become this outspoken father? And this is the other question: do you think people are rooting against Lonzo because of what his father is doing, though? Because I think there's a lot of people who actually want to see Lonzo fail because of his father. We saw that especially after the NCAA tournament game when UCLA, Ryan Hollins, an alma mater, when they lost to Kentucky. And everyone kind of blew up and said, see, there we go. So I'll present that first to you, Ryan. Do you think more people are cheering against Lonzo? And also, if he's not drafted by the Lakers, what do you think happens?
When you're outspoken like that, even when you succeed like that, welcome, son. Right. welcome, fellas. That's just part of the sports world. What you do, what you don't do, the more popular you get, and especially when you get outspoken. So I think LaVar, in this instance, he's almost like, I'm going to lash out before y'all say something to me. I'm going to be outspoken. I'm going to be the aggressor. You saw him on the Collins show, going at the lady host.
Christine Leahy,
She went at Christine because I guess she had some comments about him. I don't necessarily agree with ever talking to a woman like that or the way he did it, but he defended himself, and what gives her the green light to say what she wants to say. But hey, that's what he wanted to do, and that's just his style. Big baller brand, us against the world.
Triple B.
Now, he's going to look horrible if he doesn't go to the Lakers, and horrible if he starts to slip. Because I guarantee one thing, there's at least a couple teams that are looking at it and saying, I don't want LaVar nowhere near our situation is too sensitive. Like a Philly, for instance, for LaVar to come in and try to run our team. If I'm Philly, I may not, and he slips from the Lakers, I may skip because we're not put together. We start losing games. The last thing I need is LaVar to be the main story of our team or to be making headlines.
No, man, you're listening to The Locker Room here on ESPN Radio. Ryan Hollins, Kirk Morrison, he's DeMarco Farr. Go ahead, DeMarco.
I got a question, man. I know Kirk because we were in the same NFL locker room, and dads were not allowed on the practice field.
They're not even allowed in the gate.
Is it different in the NBA? Is he going to be there every day with the team? Is he going to be in Magic Johnson's ear every day if they draft this kid?
No.
Yeah,
no.
So
they will have to find him.
You would have to find him. What do you mean?
Reporters would have to track down LaVar. He will not be at the practice facility.
Oh, okay.
He's not going to be in the locker room.
He didn't gave out his number to everybody. Everybody got his number, Ryan. I'm surprised you ain't got LaVar Ball. He didn't give his number, the cell phone, the address. I know LaVar Ball didn't gave out his number to everybody.
So basically, he's just Skip Bayless, just somebody's dad. He's just a mouthpiece that's on the air. No, he's just a mouthpiece that's on the air.
No.
So, no, I mean, look, I don't think the Lakers would pass him up. And if they did, what are we still talking? Top 5 talent?
Yeah.
So I don't think you're ever going to get rid of this guy, get rid of the LaVar Ball show. No matter where his son gets drafted to. But I'll tell you this, to answer your question, man, I've only rooted against 2 guys in my life because of their dads, and they're both boxers. Ruben Guerrero, when he went at Floyd Mayweather for all that kind of nonsense he was saying during the press conference, and Angel Garcia when he popped off with the N-word. Only 2 times in my life have somebody's father made me hate the other guy, but I could care less once the guy puts on trunks and starts playing for my team. I can care less what his father says. He doesn't impact the show that's on the floor. That's what I would say. Or if he doesn't go to the Lakers, I think he's still going to be that guy and be happy. You'll never get rid of him.
Yeah, I already know what he's going to say, too. If Lonzo did go to Boston, I can already hear what he said. Look, Danny Ainge couldn't pass up on a transcendent talent like my son. He made the right decision. I just wanted him to be a Laker, but Danny Ainge, he's not a dumb person. He know who the best basketball player. That was my son, Lonzo.
You sound just like him.
Hey, man, I'm trying.
You sound just like him. Wow.
Well, and also to remember, June 22nd is the NBA draft. June 22nd will be right here on ESPN and ESPN Radio, ESPN app, and you can watch it. But I think June 23rd, like you mentioned, DeMarco, may be just as great a day as June 22nd.
Either way,
maker, yes.
Yeah. If the Lakers take him or don't take him, June 23rd is going to be a great day for Sports Talk Radio, which goes back to our first point. This guy may be a genius.
Right.
If you can capitalize on that, because everybody is talking about you.
Do you put the camera on Lonzo first or LaVar first on draft day?
LaVar
in the green room.
You technically you put it on Lonzo, but we want to see LaVar. Is LaVar going to go up and shake it?
Okay, so you want a split screen. So you want a split screen.
Will he be the first father?
Wow. So you said LaVar Ball will be the first father to walk up there with his son.
You better
shake Adam Silver's hand.
Have you seen the cover of 2K18 with LaVar on the cover of 2K?
Man, you silly. So LaVar Ball and Lonzo Ball will walk up there and shake the commissioner's hand.
The first ever. Hey, he's not the only. There's a bunch of jealous daddies out there right now going, man, this was my show. I'm going to be the next LaVar. I got to do this. But I know fathers, mothers, parents with the wrong intentions. I think there's a silver lining in this guy. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm crazy. I think there's a silver lining. I think he's just trying to capitalize on the opportunity. Why not? Too much money going around, guys.
He's going to hand up there 2 of them hats. Oh, man, I'm still thinking about that. But, fellas.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
My whole career, I've always been, kind of the people's champ in the locker room.
This is The Locker Room Podcast.
An iconic coach, and I call him iconic because when you think of Oklahoma football, especially over the last, 2 decades, when I said Oklahoma football, for me, the first name that pops up is not a player. It was Bob Stoops, and Bob Stoops this week stepped down as head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, And I kept thinking about, because I saw the pouring of former players that played under Stoops, and we're talking about, guys who won the Heisman Trophy, or even guys like Adrian Peterson. Yeah. Everybody had nothing but great words for their former head coach. And I thought about guys that influenced me, that have touched my life in a sort of a way.
Your life.
That, yes.
Touched your life.
Yeah, that have touched my life.
Thank
that
you.
have kind of groomed me, to be not only the professional that I was, but even still to this day. And to me, I'll start this off, fellas. My head coach in high school, Paul Perrinon, Bishop O'Dowd High School, Oakland, California, 1999 NFL Coach of the Year, high school Coach of the Year. He put in me just a discipline, and he was always the one that told me what I didn't want to hear. He would press my buttons to a certain way that it was not only he was hard on me, but he could be comical as well. But it set me up for things for life, whether it was, Kurt, you're here for a reason to change not only your life, but your family's life. You have an opportunity to do this. And he wouldn't let me go astray. But yet during a game, if I fumbled or something, or if I messed up on a play, he was like, well, I remember one time he told me this, fellas. I remember I fumbled the football in a game. And so I was upset because I know he was going to get on me. So Monday in front of the whole team, it was like, yeah, that Kirk Morrison, he fumbles, yeah. But after school, when he's holding that girlfriend, he's holding her real tight. I wish he could hold the football that tight. So it was one of those things where, like, I was embarrassed, but at the same time, it was funny because all my guys saying, ooh. But it was just those things that I remember, and it was those moments that I'm like, man, Coach always wanted what was best for me, and I appreciate him so much. Was there anybody like that for you? I'll start with you, DeMarco.
All my head coaches were great from high school. Right. Steve Alameda, my high school coach, we won a championship. Through Washington, Don James.
Right.
God rest his soul, but if he walked in this room right now, I would stand at attention or leave the room. He was that intimidating. I'm serious. Right. He was that intimidating, but he was perfect for what we needed at the time. We won championships with him. And then Dick Vermeil with the Rams, a father figure. But the guy that stands out is my D-line coach in college named Randy Hart. Now, through my first couple of years of college, I hope I'm not preaching to the choir. I was a freshman, I was a sophomore, and I did freshman, sophomore things like miss class. Well, that was not accepted at UW, so we had to run if you miss class. So I'm a junior, I'm still missing class like an idiot, and we're getting ready to play the Rose Bowl against Michigan. And I still had gassers to do on Friday, Friday before the game. And do you know he made me do them?
Wow.
It was more important for me to realize the repercussions of missing class than to win a Rose Bowl. And I am cussing him out right down here in Pasadena, cussing him out. And he didn't say a word for an hour and a half and just made me realize no matter what I say, no matter what I do, I'm still going to have to make up for what I did.
Right.
And he stayed out there with me all day long, let me finish, walked in and never said another word about it. But it stood with me. And when I became a pro, I was undrafted, made the football team. And remember, when I left school, I hated this guy, and probably he hated me. But when I made the team here in L.A., he was the first guy I called and thanked because he taught me everything I needed to become a pro. So, yeah, that guy, screaming at him, I thought he hated me. I wanted to hurt this man. And turned out he was the greatest coach I ever had in my life. So I bet a lot of people have had those similar experiences.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
First off, I got to thank my high school coach, Don Grant. And it's funny, Don has a military background. He was a no-nonsense guy. We ran and we defended. Don actually went on the Chino Hills. LaVar came along. Don is so no-nonsense, he said, I'm not dealing with it. I can't have a parent, jumping in my huddles and in my, in my team as LaVar was able to do. So he was so no-nonsense.
It always comes back to LaVar, huh, Ryan?
He stepped down. It's just irony. It happens like that. And the second guy I think of is Larry Brown.
Yeah.
He stands out because Larry Brown, in my third year in the NBA, kicked me out of training camp. Look, I may have had some knucklehead ways, but I played hard. I was never a bad kid. He kicked me out of training camp for being hurt, actually. But it was a humbling experience because he was always, you're not playing hard enough. My MO, I've always played hard. You're not playing hard enough. He says, son, I'm going to give you 3 rules. You rebound every shot. You block every shot, and you run end to end. I don't care what happens. I don't care what excuse. You do those 3 things. I couldn't stand Larry. I said, that's what I do already. I do it good enough.
Right.
But it wasn't good enough if I didn't do it every single time. I got traded to Dallas that year, had a breakout season, and made the most money I made in the NBA.
Wow.
So to this day, I still call Larry Brown. I still thank him. As crazy as he is, I guess I had my little Allen Iverson moment.
Practice?
We talking about practice.
Because he kicked you out of practice.
Right? He kicked me out. And I was a hard worker. And Larry just, he would get on you just kind of for no reason. But it was a test. And when Larry got on me one time, once I figured it out, yes, sir, what do you want? I look right back at him. When he saw you complain, he saw you melt, he was just building mental toughness.
Right.
And I remember Larry, after a while, once I figured out, he was like, that Hollins, he's nuts. Son, you're crazy, right? Yeah, Coach. Thank you.
I remember, because, see, a lot of times head coaches are the ones who kind of get a lot of the credit. But I think on the football side here, Ryan, for me and DeMarco, it's your position coach is the one who you spend the most time with. For me, I had a position coach for me when I was in college. And, I was my first 2 years, I had my position coach. He kind of groomed me a little bit, but then the whole coaching staff got fired and he was not retained. So they brought in a new guy for my final couple of years at San Diego State. And he came in and he was like, the way y'all been doing things is going to change and this and that. So we kind of butted heads. Here I am. I'm coming off a freshman All-American campaign, the team leader. I was voted team captain. So it was my sophomore year. Yeah. And I'm not saying I was too big for my britches, but I had a little juice. You know what I mean? I was good.
You were feeling yourself.
Oh, man. Swag was on 1,000.
I'm feeling myself.
You got to understand. My swag was on 1,000. I was the dude.
Right.
And he was like, I remember we got into a meeting. He said, I'm here to make you a better player. I said, okay, coach. He was like, but the reason how we going to make you a better player is that everybody has to be on the same page, and we only as good as our weakest link. And I remember one guy had messed up. He was maybe like a third-team guy walk-on. And he was like, all right, after practice, we know what happens when we mess up. We all run. I said, dude, I'm not about to run for this dude. He's a walk-on. He was like, see,
you
and that's
snob.
I wasn't a snob, but we talking about running though, DeMarco. It wasn't like, oh, we do a couple sprints, I understand, or he jumped off sides.
Yeah.
We talking about doing some running.
Running.
All for a dude. And so I was upset at him, man. He was like, but see, that's the mentality that if you a leader, you gotta be the one that can get down and help that man. Because what if opportunity for him to play, you gotta be there. And so it was just like little things like that I took from there. And I always, even going forward, I was like, okay, I got to make sure that we all tight. Even the last man on the roster, we got to be tight. It's not just okay for me to be able to do my job, but that's where you help out the other guys. And that's why to this day, playing middle linebacker in this league, I wanted to make sure everybody knew what we was doing. We on the same page. Not one person messing up, and it kind of groomed me.
Real quick, heartbeat props. You guys ever heard of that? You make sure you give somebody props before they pass away. So now that Bob Stoops has retired, go back a year. Would you call him a great coach? And when you listed great coaches, how long before you got to Bob Stoops? And be honest, because you heard a lot of negative about Bob and not winning the big one.
Yeah, because he only won one national title. So I think that
see
was
what I'm saying?
Right. And I think but he was a model of consistency, though, too.
Yeah,
true. And I think that it's one of those things, like you mentioned, we want him to live forever. You know what I mean? Obviously, you don't want him to pass by no means. But you always look more at the career when they're now done. And for him to retire now before anything, crazy happens, you can still sit back and say, you know what? For 18 years of him being the head coach of Oklahoma, I mean, he did a pretty magical job.
Be honest, though. When I read it, the first thing I thought is the NCAA is in town.
Oh yeah, you say he did a Pete Carroll?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought.
Pete Carroll at USC.
The NCAA is coming to town, and it's about to be a mess at Oklahoma. Yeah. And then the second thing was maybe something is up with his health. But either way, I agree with your point. First, my first face of Oklahoma used to be Barry Switzer. Now it's Bob Stoops. And
absolutely.
That was that's big shoes to fill if you can do that over Barry Switzer.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
what we were talking about last segment with Jeff Van Gundy's comments on the Kardashian quote-unquote shaming, that so many people have been throwing a lot of shade at Tristan Thompson for his play in the first 3 games, but played a lot better in Game 4.
I was a great trash talker. But number one, the first question I had when I heard Jeff Van Gundy and then Mark Jackson kind of co-sign on it about they don't want people to blame the Kardashian curse on how a player or Tristan Thompson is playing. The first thought I had is I wonder how they would feel if they were still coaching. If they had to coach a guy that was dating the Kardashian, and you're bringing that whole situation in. Because, look, as athletes, we know this. He's not the first. And I don't think he's throwing away his career or throwing away the finals. I think Golden State is just that good. But we've known a lot of guys that have thrown away games or their careers or their lives over a relationship. Am I lying?
Yeah, absolutely.
The only difference is this one comes with a TV show, so your whole world is going to be broadcast out there. But yeah, I think it's a little disingenuous of 2 former coaches to say that it doesn't matter. If you were sitting where Steve Kerr or Tyronn Lue is right now, I bet you would have a different perspective on that whole Kardashian curse. That's all I wanted to say.
I agree with you 100%. I never even went to that angle. That's why you're on here, because that will be discussed in our locker room. That would be.
And if I was a head coach, if I was a player, I saw this because I wasn't on the team. I had just left the team, but when Jason Sehorn came to the St. Louis Rams, he was married to Angie Harmon. And things changed around how you got to the stadium or who sat where. It didn't affect them because they went to the Super Bowl, but it did change everything, the balance of things off the court or at least in the stands, if you know what I'm talking about. Things changed a little bit.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I know the New England Patriots had their ring ceremony the other day, and you can see sort of the way the Patriots don't. It's not really a big issue. Obviously, Gisele Bündchen married to Tom Brady, and that could be a similar situation as far as player, and a star wife who is obviously one of the most known woman in the world. But it doesn't seem to be a distraction there because also the play of Tom Brady. If Tom Brady's play started to slip, what would we say then? Either number one, he's getting old, and number 2, his wife. You know what I mean?
For a minute, Olivia Munn couldn't go to Green Bay. Because they thought it was her fault that Aaron Rodgers was playing bad. Yeah.
But that's low rent if you're talking to Jeff Van Gundy. That's not low rent. I mean, we fans, that ain't low rent. We want answers. You know what I mean? We got questions. We need answers. Why is my quarterback or why is my player not playing the way that he's supposed to? And I'll transition to this because trash talking is a part of sports. I love trash talking. I was a trash talker myself at times. Sometimes I just play the game. But if you brought trash talk to me, I would bring it back. And so when you think about trash talk in this series, LeBron James was asked about that. Kevin Durant was asked about some of the trash talk that he had during this NBA Finals. Here's what Kevin Durant had to say about some of the trash talk he had, not only with other players, but with LeBron James.
You can't take everything away from the game. You're taking the hard fouls out of the game, calling them flagrants, taking a lot of stuff out of the game, but you can't take the emotion out of the game. And we wasn't coming to blows. We were just talking, and that's a part of basketball. The game of basketball created that, what I'm saying? The refs didn't, we didn't as players. It's like the aura of the game created trash talk and just communication out there, you know what I'm saying? So I know you could take away the physical part of the game as far as, controlling stuff, but emotionally, that should be us. That should be what the players have as their own out there. So I'm sure it's going to continue. It's nothing malicious or we didn't say anything malicious. It's just a part of the game. Like I say, emotions are what keeps this game alive. It keeps it going. It's for the players.
Amen. Ryan Hollins, I'll start with you on this one as far as you've played some pickup basketball before. You've probably been down to the YMCA or 24-Hour Fitness, Equinox, wherever you probably played in the pickup game before. And there's always that heated altercation, not necessarily of fisticuffs or pushing and fighting, but more guys trash talking or guys just having, like you mentioned, the emotions of a game before. That's just part of sports, right? That's just part of basketball, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take this to the playground.
We
got our games on the playground. That's where we were born and raised. We were out there playing in the hot sun on the concrete, getting knocked down on our behind, getting up. And when you played with older guys, you had to hold your own weight. So when you're playing in the streets, when you're playing on the playground, trash talk is a part of the street game. That's where you develop who you are as a baller. When you play against KD, you play against Russ, those are trash talkers. That's KD. That's how he was the game that we loved, that we watched, that we paid to see from him. That's what was ingrained from him. So KD, after he dunks or he scores, he gets fouled, he's going to say something. And you talked about those fights. That's just natural. It's a natural flair. The game gets a little heated. Somebody has a foul or a push. Somebody goes, "Don't touch me like that, dog." "No, you don't hit me like that." And the next guy goes, "Wait till the next play." And then they say something else. Now, sometimes those guys go to blows, and sometimes it's just within the flow of the game. Welcome to professional sports. I can only speak to basketball, but fellas, I can only imagine what's said on the football field. My gosh.
It's the same stuff, man. Look, sometimes, for me, trash talking, it depends on who you're talking to and who's doing the talking. Because sometimes I have to shut my own teammate up. "Hey, man, shut up. Don't wake him up. I'm serious. You're going to piss him off. Leave him alone. He's doing you a favor by not playing hard. If you talk to him, he's going to play hard, and then we're in trouble." But, it just depends on the situation. Sometimes I'll be Apollo Creed talking. How about I'm the greatest? The next, I am Clubber Lang. I'm serious. It just depends on the situation. But I agree, man. It's a part of the game. It's the emotion. And I hope they don't try to legislate that out of any sport. That's why we do it, is the emotion.
I was lucky enough to play with two. One's a future Hall of Famer. One is in the Hall of Fame. Randy Moss, future Hall of Famer, and Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp more so the least, more so because
I was to fight him.
Yes,
I wanted to fight him.
Look, you're on the same side of the ball as him, and you want to fight him.
Kirk, wait a minute. This dude came skipping through our warm-up lines before
I
game.
remember.
I wanted to fight him for real.
Man.
So you got to understand, I get to the NFL. I'm drafted from a college guy to the NFL, and everybody always says, "What's the biggest thing of the difference between college and the NFL?" And one of the things I can say is that the trash talking from college was okay, but then it got up to the NFL, and it was different because I had a guy like Warren Sapp who had been a national player of the year in college, a national champion in college, an NFL defensive player of the year, an NFL champion. So he was one of the guys that he trash talked because his resume allowed him to do that even more. So when I'm listening to him trash talk to a guy who I'm like, here we go. When I hear him say, forget your life, and I'm using the word forget, which is just another choice. He's like, "I don't care about you. Forget your life. Your life don't matter to me right now."
Wow.
It's like, "I will run you over and I'll be at your funeral." Okay. Like it was like, we talking about those were the kind of trash talking stories that I'm like, dude. Now, if you swim move that guy,
that's fighting words.
Yeah, but he was trash talking and fighting. I'm like, dude, if you do a swim move and all of a sudden the guard is in my face, he gonna take it out on me. So why you doing all of that? Like, you gotta pick your own battles. But I'm telling you, the trash talking, there were just some things that I just saw on the field, and I'm just like, wow. Because I would always take it to hey, if you brought it to me, I'm gonna bring it back. Okay, we gonna see what it is, or we'll see you next play. I bet this gonna happen, this and that. But there were certain guys that fueled them though. They needed that in order for them to take it to the next level.
Hey fellas, I'm gonna take it back to Boston. And the greatest trash talker
KG
that I have ever played with, none other than the ticket Mr. Kevin Garnett. Yeah. And I'm still salty about my ring that I should have had, or the opportunity up 3-2 at the house and we couldn't close out. LeBron took it. I'm salty.
Yeah.
Early in LeBron's career, there was a known fact pretty much that you could out-talk him from his game. You could get in his head. You could say things to him and throw him off. Make him second-guess just for that moment. And, fellas, in professional sports, you just need that moment to throw somebody off, and you capitalize. So Kevin Garnett, behind his trash talk, Ticket, don't kill me for giving away one of the secrets on air. I apologize because he holds them in value, but he's not playing no more, so he don't need them the same. When Kevin Garnett trash talks, when Kevin Garnett gets hyped, when Kevin Garnett beats up the post before the game, it's all a mental thing. He's at peace. He's calm in his head, and he's thinking through strategies on what he needs to do for not just himself, but for the team to succeed. So within that series, Kevin Garnett said some things that I will never repeat for the rest of my life to LeBron. A prior LeBron would have folded this Miami Heat, this new LeBron who remade himself, they bounced off him like iron. It was like nothing. He said, you can. I mean, listen. This was fight material. This was, look, dog. Forget basketball. Let's go in the back and fight. I catch you after the game for this type of stuff. And it bounced right off of LeBron. But Kevin Garnett, one of the greatest trash talkers in history, has said things. Oh my gosh! But it's all within the game. If he knows he can't break you, he's not gonna say it to you. But if he can break you, he got you.
And now I think you have just uncovered one of the reasons why that LeBron James never wanted to shake hands after the game, the series with the Celtics, right? You guys never wanted. There was no shaking of hands. I believe maybe a couple players here and there, Ray Allen, but everybody else walked off the court.
Hey,
Kendrick Perkins, Paul Pierce.
Let me give you that.
Okay.
Ticket would not allow it. Ticket is old school. Ticket is throwback. Okay.
Right.
So Ticket was like, yo, this is when we were in the playoffs. It was war, Kirk. Yeah. We're really not friends. We're not. This is old school basketball. This is the problem. And we had that MO. We're better than you. We're tougher. We're built different. We're going to outgrind you. That was our mindset in Boston. That's what made us great. Those guys didn't have the same physical tools of their youth. Ticket was probably 35 at the time.
Right.
Paul, 36. The guys were older, okay? But when they stepped on the floor, it was that mental edge. And the young guys, myself, Keon, Avery
Baby
Bradley,
Davis.
all those guys, we fed off that energy and that emotion. Like, yo, we really didn't like you. We played with that same playground and same love for the game that you had in the past. So KG's trash talk was like, yo, if someone had to touch Ticket and said something to him, he had a problem with me. He had a problem with B-Bass. Wow. He had a problem with anybody else. Like, this was real. We really didn't like you. And that was the mentality. But LeBron found a way to channel that, shake it off, and just play basketball, which was crazy. No, like, Ticket would grab your hand and be like, yo, stop talking to that choice word.
I like
okay?
I like
like, this was serious.
Yeah,
it was real.
How serious will it be? Yes, how serious will it be in Game 5? Another elimination game ahead for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Game 5 tomorrow night on ESPN. Whoa, there it is. Mike has been nominated, obviously. But tomorrow night, Game 5, the choice words that will be flying throughout the game, we will see.
Thanks for listening to the Locker Room Podcast. Make sure to subscribe by clicking the Listen tab on the ESPN app.